To stay with us here on the Pulse. Well, this afternoon, JoyNews Research has revealed that government of Ghana still owes independent power producers over $700 million, even after settling close to about $1.5 billion in energy sector legacy debt. Official records indicate that the government has already informed the IMF about its plans to settle the remaining balance owed power producers latest by the year 2028. Head of our research desk here at JoyNews, Isaac Kofieje, joins me right now via Zoom with a breakdown of some of the computations that our research desks have been putting together as far as repayment of the energy sector debt is concerned. He joins me live with more. Kofi, what exactly have you been finding out?
Since this news broke, there are so many, misleading headlines about this figure, right? This is 1.47 billion, US dollars. And in fact, this is not the amount of money that has been paid to independent power producers. We need to break this down for you to understand. So this 1.47 billion dollars that have been paid so far, according to government's own official, data that they've released, they paid $597 million out of that to World Bank partial risk guarantee. Remember, there was this risk guarantee that went dry for a period of time. Government says that they've actually put money back into that, and so that is active now, $597 million US dollars. And a part of that 1.47 went into outstanding gas invoices owed ENI and Vitol. That's about $480 million US dollars. And there's a part that, there's been a lot of misleading headlines about in terms of the legacy debt owed independent power producers. As far as the data is concerned, based on what government has actually said, independent power producers in 2025 were paid $393 million US dollars as part of their restructuring exercise. In fact, let's try and understand the independent power producer side very well. According to the finance minister in the 2026 budget, this particular government, inherited a debt of 1.4 billion, US dollars owed just to independent power producers alone. And this debt was subjected to restructuring. And in fact, we heard the finance minister and the energy minister spoke about it, that independent power producers had agreed to accept some level of haircut, meaning that they were willing to write off a part of that debt. And according to the finance minister, over $250 million was written off. So out of that 1.4 that was owing them, owed to independent power producers, according to government, they made a savings of over $250 million. And the remaining amount is 1.1 billion. And it's out of that that the government paid $393 million in 2025. The debt still outstanding, or the debt still being owed independent power producers, is $770 million US dollars. So the independent power producers, as we are learning,
I will come to you for you to even go back to that 400 million that has been making the headline as to whether it is very accurate or not. Take us back on that.
Well, in fact, this is what we've been trying to break down, that if you look at the debt owed independent power producers, according to the finance minister, that is about 1.4 billion US dollars. And this debt was subjected to restructuring. And in fact, the finance minister put out that the independent power producers had agreed to write off a significant component of this amount of money. And that savings government was claiming was about over $250 million. So if you do the math, government is saying that this part of the debt has been written off, forgiven. Independent power producers are not entitled to this amount of money anymore because they had to also sacrifice. The remaining amount that was reprofiled after restructuring was 1.1 billion US dollars. And it was out of this that the government paid that $393 million out of it in 2025. The remaining amount still yet to be paid by government, as far as debt owed independent power producers is concerned, is $707 million US dollars. Government has paid this amount, so remaining amount is about 64% yet to be paid. And this is the outstanding debt that government is owing independent power producers. And we understand, based on what government has told IMF so far, there is a clear plan on how to pay this remaining amount. And according to government, they will be paying this between 4 to 5 years. And categorically, the finance minister has indicated that by the end of 2028, government should be done paying the legacy debt owed independent power producers. We also understand that there is also the plan to pay IPPs over $300 million this year. And so that $47 billion that was reported, it is not debt owed, or is not what has been paid to just independent power producers, but the energy sector as a whole. The independent power producers component of that is about $393 million, and government is still left with some $707 million to be paid.
We can now hear from the CEO of Independent Power Producers Ghana, Dr. Eliplim Akpetogbo, who told Joy News about how precious and previous political interference, as well as issues of transparency, crippled the growth of the sector.
That they have shown towards the energy sector issues, particularly with the IPPs. I would say it is still an ongoing process. We are not yet out, but all the same, government has shown good faith, so we are grateful for that. And it has actually injected good energy and confidence in the sector. The sector is being reformed, and it's an ongoing process. I can see the practical steps that are being taken. For instance, one critical issue is transparency and fairness in the sector, as well as independence of the sector from political interference. That was the case in the years past, and has seriously affected the growth of the sector. But you could see clearly at this time that we are gradually coming out of those influences, and that is actually having a positive impact on the sector. So, in fact, we are moving forward, and things, I believe, will get very well.
Well, let's explore this further. We know that the Institute for Energy Security, they have commended government for clearing that $1.47 billion of energy sector debt, but they're actually calling for structural discipline to sustain energy security in the country. Thankfully, I have with me the senior researcher and policy analyst at IS, Smith Prosper Wahine. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. You want to see, based on the statement you have put out, structural discipline to sustain the energy sector. What do you mean by that?
Thank you. Thank you so much, and good day to your viewers as well. Yes, we understand the legacy debt issue, and then the challenges with commercial losses has dominated our power sector for some time now. And so, indeed, we actually appreciate the effort that the government is putting in to replenish the depleting safety net, that is the partial risk guarantee. And then again, we have to also look at the fact that it is important that we sustain this gain in terms of reducing the reduction in our commercial losses and ensuring that IPPs continue to produce power at affordable rate. And so the structural gains are very much important when you are looking at, for example, adherence to the cash waterfall mechanism in ensuring that gas suppliers get resources to be able to supply the gas to the IPPs, and also the fact that IPPs are able to maintain operational reliability that has to do with liquidity over the period that has been a major challenge. So yes, IPP is IES is commending government for this step that it has taken in ensuring that the industry is rid of this chronic debt challenges that is facing the industry. But then going forward, we must adhere to the structural challenges or rectifying these challenges in ensuring that the industry is sustained.
You've mentioned a few of the challenges, but based on your internal audit and findings, what are the major challenges that they face in the energy sector, and how can that be dealt with decisively by this administration moving forward?
Great. aside from technical challenges, which most of us are aware of, machines and others, the major challenge has to do with liquidity, obviously. And if IPPs are not being paid on time, how can they produce? If the gas supplier is not paid on time, how can he supply us with more gas to ensure that our power system is reliable? So mainly the challenge in the industry or the sector has been an issue of liquidity. Yes, technical challenges are there, all right, but commercial losses have also have their part to play. And so if steps are being taken to rectify these technicalities and these issues, I think that it is something to be happy about. But that notwithstanding, as I mentioned earlier, this is addressing the symptoms of the problem. The disease of the challenge itself is how we can sustain this gain to ensure that the industry is really moving forward on the right trajectory.
Stay with me. Let me bring in spokesperson for the Energy Ministry, Richmond Roxon. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. Based on your data, how much do you still owe IPPs?
Let me say good afternoon to you and then good afternoon to your cherished listeners. The last briefing we had from the Ministry of Finance when the administration took charge, the figure was close to 2 billion United States dollars from IPPs. What we have to check now is that because these debts are recurring, we have to get the updated figure from the Ministry of Finance. But as a ministry, that's the figure that we've had. Beyond that, it is not just with the IPPs. There are sector payments as well. For example, beyond the IPPs, you procure liquid fuels, so those are payments that will come under utility. You also have debts owed to the state agencies. If you look at what this briefing did, we focused on just the private sector, especially the IPPs, and then the restoration of the guarantee, as well as the ENI and the retour invoices. And so overall, we have to look at the entire sector to look at the debt that exists. The good news is that we've made significant progress beyond payment of the IPPs, the legacy debt, which they've acknowledged. This 400 million, almost 400 million is legacy debt. Beyond that, we're staying current with the IPPs. If you say you're staying current, what it means is that the monthly invoices that are presented by these IPPs are being paid because of the prudent management of the cash waterfall mechanism. If you look at previous past, what was happening with the management of the CWM, and then what is happening today, the number of changes that you'll easily notice. The first one is that you've seen improvement in collection. So now the ECG is collecting more monies than what it was doing in previous times. And then number two, previously monies that were collected were underdeclared or were misused or misapplied. That is not what we are seeing today. So today, if you have the cash waterfall bringing about, let's say, $1.5 or $1.6 billion of CDs, all those monies go into payment of utility service providers as the cash waterfall mechanism formula is. There's not been any diversion, there's not been any mismanagement or any misapplication of the fund. And that has given a lot of room for us to look at the progress that has been made. I'm sure you don't recollect or you cannot remember the last time you heard any IPP threaten government that they are going to stop power generation because we owe them. That is because legacy debt are being handled and also the government is staying current.
You have successfully restructured that with the IPPs, I know. But then you say that when it comes to losses, you've been able to deal with under declaration of funds. How did you deal with that? And how are you sure that that is not even ongoing as we speak?
No, as a ministry, what the minister has done is to consistently monitor. There's a team that is in charge of the cash waterfall mechanism. It's not being handled by the minister. What it is that there's a process or a work plan that has been put in place that all revenues that come in are monitored. Previously, for example, ECG had about 90 bank accounts. This time there's one account. So you're able to monitor what comes in, unlike before where some funds or some revenue or some income collected were not brought to the attention of government. This time that cannot happen because you have one central account where you're able to monitor all the monies that come in. The other point that we must also make, which if you look at the statements from the government, that deals with the partial risk guarantee. This is a very, very crucial guarantee that has been restored. At the time we put together the Sankofa project, which was around 2014-15, World Bank put together a guarantee that if government refuses to make payments, the private sector, that's the OCTV partners, would draw from that. Unfortunately, the previous administration consumed the gas, but were not paying for the gas. And so you had the ENI and Vitol partners access that guarantee. That guarantee of $597 million was depleted. The government had a discussion with the World Bank. They're supposed to restore it by June 2026. Because of prudent management, because of efficiency and fiscal discipline, that was done in the first year of His Excellency the President, as a result of the work that has been jointly done by Honorable Dr. Jinapo and Honorable Atufosun. That singular decision of restoring it has given investors the confidence, has made Ghana a reliable partner again. And because of that, these investors are willing to invest more money in our field. And it's the same with the IPPs. If you look at the statement that has been released by their chamber, they commend government and they say that they now have confidence in government, that government is a credible partner to deal with. And so some of these reforms are not just even for keeping our light on. Some of these reforms are to ensure that you have the needed investment in the power sector, as we've witnessed in the last couple of months. And so for us as a government, this is significant progress. What we've seen with these payments have never happened before, especially in any government's first. If you look at where this government took the power sector from and where we are today, it's like day and night. We had a power sector where in December 2024, you were shedding load of over 700 megawatts. For 8 good months to 9 months, from last year, April to date, there's been zero shedding of electricity. If you look at the power sector that you met, the 80 billion CD debt for ECG alone, within Q3 of last year, that debt had moved from 80 to 67 billion CDs. If you look at the restoration, if you look at the fuel that was non-existent when this government came in, the government has been able to put in place mechanism where now you have supply of liquid fuel to power a thermal plant. And these are the significant successes that have been chalked in our power sector.
So we're recording some gains based on what you tell us, but then we know that the 2026 budget, the energy sector was factored into that. How much are the IPPs expected to receive this year?
What it is that there's a work plan that we've agreed with what I'll call a roadmap. Whatever it is, they receive more than we paid them last year. So far, every month, if you look at what is paid to them, every month we are current. And so if they bring their current invoices, that is fine. As for the legacy debt, there's a work plan that the government is working with. And at this point, I don't want to disclose that. But as and when these payments are made, as a government will put that information out. But what assurances you have is that definitely you're going to be receiving more. In 2024, the whole year, under the cash waterfall mechanism, what was paid was 6 billion. As at Q3 last year, excluding Q4, what had been paid was almost 18 billion. So that's almost times 3 of what was paid in 2025. And so the IPPs know that under this government, they have a better chance and a better probability of getting their monies and settling the legacy debt.
Okay. Thank you so much, Richmond, for your time here on The Pulse.